Hello. Welcome back to season 5, episode 1 of Black Film with BlackFilm.com. Rewind with Ro. I'm your host, Ro Carter, and my amazing co-host, Rob Smith. How are you, buddy?
I'm surviving.
There you go. He's sick again. Just starting off. What'd you do? You partying in the streets?
No. I just caught a really bad cold from a friend, and so I'm trying to recover. So today is the first day I feel like back to myself. It's been like 4 days of like coughing and sore throat, but I'm feeling better. I'm past the worst of it.
What's the weather like right now in LA?
It's nice out. That's why I'm like, why do I have to?
Yeah, nothing worse when you get a cold and it's nice weather. That's the worst.
Sucks.
So everybody, we have taken a long hiatus, a long break, but we are back now. So we're gonna get this momentum going. I'm away next week, unfortunately. I'm in Ireland, but we're gonna pick up after that. But we're on it. Two good movies today, and we're gonna talk about them, experience. But first, before we do that, how was your summer, buddy? Did you do anything exciting? Go anywhere? What you been up to?
I did. I took a little vacation. I went to Greece.
Look at you. Okay.
It was like my 4th time going to Mykonos. I need to go see other parts of Greece.
Yeah, there's more than just Mykonos in Greece.
I know, but I have so much fun there now. I know people there, so I keep going back and redoing the experience. But I had a good old time. This is the first real vacation I've taken in a long time because I've just been so focused on like my acting career and work, and I really hadn't taken time for myself. So I took a week and went to Greece, and it was great. And I also
Is a week enough to do Greece?
A week is enough. I was ready to come home. It was enough. It was enough. A week is enough.
Now, for Black folks that don't go to Greece, or haven't been to Greece, are we treated well over there?
Yeah. It's a good time.
Okay. All right, good time.
I mean,
you gotta ask people. When you go, people want to know.
Of course, there's people everywhere who are,
of course,
ignorant, but I didn't run into too much of it. And I haven't any of the times I've gone. I don't think I've run into anybody being like disrespectful in that way. At least nobody from Greece. I mean, people from other places sometimes, but nobody from Greece. Everybody in Greece has been relatively cool.
Nice. Anything else you did, or that's it?
Yeah, got in a car accident. That's why I'm sitting so stiff. If I look like I'm stiff, that's why.
Man, your neck and your back.
Really, for real, my neck and my back. I got a new car out of it though. But hey.
Nice. You upgraded. You kept the same level.
Got a little upgrade. And Val was very helpful in that. Val was on the phone with me every day. Like, I want you to call me when you're in the dealership. And I got this. Me and her son got the same car. So yeah. So I'm like obsessed with I got an electric car. I got an Audi. They're all electric e-tron, and I love the car. I'm obsessed.
What color?
I got all black with the brown leather interior. I love it.
All right.
I love it.
Okay, play. Nice.
I like it. When electric.
That's what you need nowadays.
What about you, Ro? How was your summer?
We thought we were moving, and we're not. We're supposed to be moving to San Diego, and we're still in Miami. So either way, it's still sunny and amazing, which is nice. Just caught up with friends over the summer. I was in the Hamptons. My friend does it every year now. Been doing it for 5 years. He got a house during COVID, so he invites all the fellas out, and we just hang out. We went on a boat one day, played some tennis, just hung out, had some drinks. So it was just nice just catching up with family. My cousin comes out. And that's pretty much it. Like, this is going to be our first trip in a while. So we're going, like I said, we're going to Ireland next week. So that should be fun. This is my 3rd time going to Ireland. I think I'm the only Black person that's been to Ireland more than my Irish friends. They're like, 3rd time going to Ireland.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Just so you know, when someone calls you Black Irish, that's not actually a compliment. So Google that, people. That's a whole nother conversation.
Uh-oh.
But anyway, everything's been good. Excited. Football season started. The energy feels, that in the air. I won't get into politics. That's a whole nother craziness has been going on. The world is on fire. But thoughts and prayers to everything that's happened in the past couple of months and over the summer. So I'm looking forward to get back and into it. Let's go.
And I guess that was a good segue, huh? Because you said it's football season.
There you go. So we have 2 movies for you tonight. One is on Apple TV and one is actually in the movie theaters. So the first one we're going to do is called Him, starring Tyreek Withers and Marlon Wayans. Basically, this movie, when did it come out? Just come out last week?
Yeah, it's only been a week.
Yeah, only been a week, yeah. So Him is directed and co-written by Justin Tippin. The film stars Tyreek Withers as Cameron Cade, a rising star quarterback who aspires to win the approval of his father. Isaiah White, an 8-time champion quarterback for the San Antonio Sabres, played by Marlon Wayans. When Cameron visits his old high school, he suffers a career-threatening brain injury after being struck in the head by a fan the night before the scouting combine. With all the prospects for his future seemingly gone, he learns that the legendary Isaiah White is retiring and they are looking for a replacement. Cameron is invited to train with Isaiah on his compound, who will assess whether he is worthy of the quarterback position, QB1. Over a grueling 6 days, Cameron will face challenges that will test him on every level to determine if he is truly him. There you go. That's the movie. So going into this, you've seen some crazy videos. Like they've been putting Peele as one of the guys, but he's like a co-director, so he's not really the main. But you kind of see those scenes like a cowboy kind of thing and the crazy colors and color schemes. And so I didn't really know what we were getting into when we saw this film, when I was going to see this film, but I was very intrigued and interested, especially when it comes to sports. You know, there's always, what does it mean to be the GOAT, right? Tom Brady, they would say, or Michael Jordan, those are the GOATs of their sports. And so there's a respect that comes to that. But what also comes with that? And so I love that this movie did a deep dive to be like, what would you sacrifice to do whatever it takes to become the GOAT? And that's what we kind of see throughout the film. What did you know about this, or what would you think about it before you went into the movie?
To be honest, I knew absolutely nothing about
really?
it before I walked into it. I knew it was, of course, a football film, but I didn't know exactly what direction it was going to go. I knew it was more of like a horror thriller, you know, psychological thriller, but I wasn't sure what direction it was going to take, which I'm glad I didn't, because I probably would have been scared away from going to see the film had I known more information about it but ahead of time. But I'm actually glad I did go see it blindly, because I walked into it with no judgment and I was able to kind of take it in, even though I am the worst person to watch a horror film with, or anything that is gory or violent.
Would you call this movie a horror film?
I think it's a horror. I think it's like a psychological horror.
Okay. That's a
yeah. I think it's a psychological horror. I don't think it's like a slasher horror, but
yeah.
Sorry, my dog is walking around. She's nosy. But I definitely think it's a psychological horror, and it took me a moment to get adjusted to it. But I'll let you go on and we can continue discussing from there. But I knew nothing.
Yeah.
Other than the poster.
as I said earlier, we're following Cameron on this trip. So he's basically going out to San Antonio to Isaiah White, played by Marlon Wayans' compound, and he's going to be worked out. So we're introduced to Julia Fox, plays the wife of Marlon Wayans. Her name is Elsie in the film. And I didn't know if it was Julia Fox being the character or is it Julia Fox now, because she bleached her eyebrows. And I was like, I don't know if that's character or because Julia Fox went a little, you know, all over the place since COVID. So I was like, I don't know what I'm getting. Anyway, she did her role. She played it like, if that was the role of being like crazy wife, that was what I got out of that.
Well, I know she's discussed in the past that she was a dominatrix, and I think she brought a lot of that energy to this.
Yes.
But she was also very soft but sneaky. But you know, it was a very good role for her. I think we saw a side of her we've never seen before, and I really thoroughly enjoyed. I would say I thoroughly enjoyed all the performances across the board in this film. I thought they all did an impeccable job, from Tyreek Withers, who I think this role for him is going to be career changing because it was such a breakout. I mean, he's done other big things like I Know What You Did Last Summer. So he's been in big projects, I believe ATL. But this, I think, is going to be that major role for him that really cements his name in Hollywood. He did such an impeccable job of embodying this character from top to bottom. I think he really took the time to craft his character, and he had a football background, I believe. So, I mean, I'm sure that was helpful.
He never really played, but he was on the bench.
Yeah, but hey, he understands football. He knows football, and so I'm sure that was helpful in him, like really crafting around the development of this character. And he probably really understood this idea of being a commodity in the sports world and what it means to like be approaching this part of your career and having to make these groundbreaking decisions on whether or not this is a route you want to take. So I'm sure he was able to like pull from some real world experience and understanding that and crafting that character. And I also have to say Marlon Wayans, for him to have taken on this like really dark dramatic role and embodied it so well. Kudos to him, because we're so used to seeing him in comedic roles, but seeing him take on something like this was really, really phenomenal. And I've watched a lot of interviews with Justin Tipping, and he said that one of the things that he mentioned in an interview I saw was that he really wanted to give Marlon this opportunity because he knew that he had the ability to improv, and he's big on improving, and he knew that it would bring a lot to the role. So I'm glad he made that choice, and I'm glad he gave Marlon this opportunity, because it was a real standout performance in his catalog of work for the dramatic side. So I hope we see more of it from Marlon in the future too.
Yeah, so that was great, and what you mentioned, the two actors there that really shined. It was a great interaction back and forth. You know, there was a great balance. Tariq Withers, man, he was very vulnerable, and that's what that character needed to be. But also at the end, and again, we're not going to give spoilers here, but at the end, he really shines and be like, yo, I am him. You know, I can prove that. You know, and every day I'm going to put the work in. And so you have to remind yourself, as a fan of like sports, and I played sports growing up, it's like, it's those everyday things that you have to do that make you better. And then there's the kind of crazy part that they get into of like religious belief and like the blood of future quarterbacks and stuff like that. So that's a interesting twist. Like, imagine if you had all the QB's bloods of past QBs that were, like that were amazing, and it's going through your veins and your body, and like what you would get from that. I mean, I don't know, but it was kind of an interesting concept that I like. I was like, oh, that's intriguing. And so every day he goes through a different test. So I kind of like it. Like there's 6 days. The first day is fun. The second day is poise. Third day is leadership. Fourth day is resilience. Fifth day is vision. And the 6th day is sacrifice. And every day he kind of goes through a different test on his mental. Also, Julia Fox comes in and out and kind of tempts him to kind of go out into the world and kind of get a feel of what it's going to be like to be this person, to be him. And so there's always this back and forth. Also, Jim Jeffrey, shout out to him. I said this earlier, people rolled their eyes, but I said this earlier. Him being just a full-blown comedian, an Australian comedian, I really liked his performance in that, because he's the guy who like kind of preps him, does all the testing on Cameron in the movie. And so he does like a deep dive and saying, hey, what are you feeling? What are you going through? He also tries to warn him as well, being like, hey, be careful what you're getting into. So that was an interesting kind of twist in the movie. There's a lot of dark scenes that you don't know if it's him like being drugged or him just like kind of losing himself because he's been knocked upside the head so many times, because he's also recovering from the trauma that he had when he got hit over the head. There's some amazing one-on-one scenes. The only thing I didn't like about this movie is that they never get to play football. They get to practice one-on-one and kind of do some drills. But the thing that I missed, like Any Given Sunday, you saw them play a game. So I think that concept would have been very interesting, along with what happened in the movie, to be like, oh, now we're playing in real time. And then after, that adjustment, because you're basically putting the pretense that he's going to be great no matter what, right? But he didn't play, and that doesn't happen in real life, right? In terms of sports, like you can say this is going to be the next GOAT, but he has to prove it out on the field. It doesn't matter what you do in practice. So that's the only knock I would have on the film. Otherwise, it really tests your mental about what would it take to be the next person.
But see, I think, and for me, my pushback to that is I don't think this film was really about the sport of football.
Yeah.
It was really about the idea, and I have a little bit of a cheat sheet, because I did watch so many interviews of Justin Timberlake, because the movie has so many like hidden meanings and metaphors and like actual history mixed into the
film. I like that when he breaks it down.
Yeah, so I really wanted to understand what his mindset was as a co-writer and director of the film. I really wanted to understand like what the direction was that they were coming from through the storytelling, because if you don't know, you might walk out of the theater and just be like, this was some demonic essay. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to tell anybody to watch it. You might walk away from it with that kind of lens. And at first I was like, I don't really understand what they're trying to say. So I need some help understanding what they're trying to say. And as I listened to them break it down, I was like, okay, that makes more sense now. So really, when he defines the story, he talks about it being this, I guess, conversation about human beings being used as commodity and moving through industry. That's kind of the quote he uses when he talks about what the film is about. And then also the idea of fandom and how fandom can turn into like worship culture.
Yeah.
So we see that, we see that a lot, and it can very quickly move into that direction where people kind of worship the people who they see as heroes and idolize them in the sports world. But from like a developmental standpoint, for me, watching him have conversations about the film, now I better understand it, because there's so much history written into the film. Because we see the opening of the film, which a lot of people aren't discussing too, which is we see him as a young boy where he's being pushed into this idea of football being something that he has to do and that he has to fall in love with by his father, who's played by Don Benjamin. And his father dies in the military. And the history of football itself, he's been having these conversations about how, it became this violent sport because a lot of fathers came back from war and they felt like their children, their young boys were feminized or they weren't masculine enough. So they put them into the sport of football in hopes of like driving that masculine energy within them or opening that up in them. And that's why it has these kind of like war tactics built into it. So I really liked that he infused that conversation into the film. And also later we learn about I don't know if I'm gonna say it right, the Carlise Indians, who were like,
yes, I was gonna touch that.
Yeah. And if you want to break that down,
but again, Marlon Wayans just starts when Cam comes to the compound and he kind of goes over the history of why this happened, how the pigskin became to the next level, the spiral and stuff like that. So I kind of like that history. I wish they would have gone a little bit more deep dive into that.
Yeah,
they just gave you like a quick here's 2 seconds, boom, boom, and then we go on and kind of move. Just to go back to what you're saying, the only thing I meant by that is not seeing live football, because I like the reaction. So remember, there's a scene when Marlon's just in the room and he's just looking at fans like watching him and he's hearing that crowd. And that's, I think, would really mold. I would like to see his reaction in real time, adjusting to that, right? Because it's one thing, hey, we're going to this, but when you see that in real time and the crowd yelling at you, fuck you, you suck, and all that stuff, and then like, oh, we love you. It's like, can you still survive through that? And that's another, I think, mental push that I think you don't really see in the film. And that's what I said. That's the only thing that I think that's missing for me, that I would like as a sports fan to feel like, oh, I want to see him out there, to see him really not only perform, but can he perform in front of all these people? And that's the real test sometimes.
And it's interesting too. And I think that shot of Marlon where he's like, the fans are glorifying him, it goes back to that idol worship.
Yeah.
Because the name of the team that he played for was the Saviors. And it's interesting because we see the symbolism throughout the film, like the Last Supper scene, where he's sitting at the table and he's kind of in the seat of Jesus, and like the disciples, alongside him at this table when they pull into the shot. So there's all of this symbolism that kind of plays on this idea of like religious worship, where these people or these athletes become like their gods. And it's so interesting too, because he plays with that when Marlon is having the conversation with him and he's like, the order for him is not God, family, football, it's football, family, God. They're like kind of put God last. But at the same time, every time we see shots of Marlon's fans, they're attacking Cam, who's becoming the person who's being built up to replace Isaiah. So we see this idol worship in the opposite, because these fans are like attacking him, but he's having to fight through that. And it's, I don't know, it was a lot of symbolism, a lot of things that you had to really pay attention to understand the direction the film was taking.
Well, yeah, because I didn't know if he was just on drugs and being crazy, because there's that scene in the sauna, right? And I'm like, is he really seeing that, or is she really like there or not there? That I didn't know. And they're like, oh, she's there. I was like,
yeah, it's like, oh, she is there.
I was like, okay, so it's not as demonic as they're trying to make it seem. Like there's just crazy people out there.
Yeah, but again, then we get to, there's sacrifices, and then there's him having to make the choice of if he's going to make the decision to follow through and accept this lifestyle. And like you said, Julia Fox's character, she is that temptress that kind of keeps trying to give him the idea of like, this is what the lifestyle can be, and you need to accept it, even to the point of like letting go of his girlfriend at home because she's a distraction, and accepting these girls who will just be a temporary fix for him, who will be in his life to give him the desires that he needs physically. Like he has all of these temptations that are put in front of him. And we think at a certain point, like, Is he going to take it? Is he not going to take it? I don't want to ruin what happens in the film,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's very interesting when you take a step back and actually kind of digest what happens in the film. It does become a little bit more complex, and the pieces start to make sense as they're put together. But it is, in the moment, very, very intense to watch. Cinematically, it is stunning.
Yeah.
It is beautiful cinematically, but it is, I would say, if you're going to watch it, prepare yourself, because there's a lot of
it's gory, and
gore,
but
there's a
also
lot
like
of
when they
blood.
hit, like that was I don't even know what that's called, but when they hit, they do like an X-ray of the body in real time when it gets hit, and you're like, oh, and you see,
Yeah.
so instead of you seeing the blood splatter in real life, you're seeing a skeleton and kind of like just splatter and something that's like, oh, so it's very interesting how they did a take on that. There's a good spin on seeing like really big hits and
Yeah.
just look even more gruesome. I didn't know you can make a hit look more
Right.
gruesome than it normally is.
And then I also was interested. It was interesting to me too how he played on all these ideas of, okay, so we know that part of it was like the human commodity portion, right? And as these athletes are being used as human commodity, their well-being is kind of put to the side for the well-being of the industry or for football. Even to the point where we see him like on the first day when things are all fluffy and beautiful, on the fun day, when we see him being like shuffled through the testing and like they have him butt naked and he doesn't need to be, like we see them kind of using
that
him.
reminded me of the slave experience, right?
Exactly.
You're cattle, right? And this is how we do it. And then they looked at him laughing like, why'd you get naked? I was like, because you told me to.
Exactly. So it was like the use of his body in that way was just like, it was done so in a violating way, but it was done without concern or care about his well-being in the moment. And I think there was a lot of play. And then his traumatic head injury, which I think, I don't know, but to me, it spoke a lot to like the violence that is inflicted upon football players' bodies constantly, and they have to work through it, and they have to mentally and physically push through it. So of course we know like there's an insurgence of CTE and concussions that football players constantly experience. And we see on the day where they're pushing him to be more violent in his leadership. I think that was day 3, it was leadership, where they're pushing him to be more violent, and he's doing it at the expense of his injury. Like, he has to put away the concern about his head injury, and he is so violent to the point where he injures his teammate or his potential teammate, and is celebrated. So it's like that, like all of the play on all of those things was very interesting to me. So there was so much built into the film, and it was so layered, but at the same time, it was very gory, and a lot of the symbolism seemed very dark and demonic. So people just need to prepare themselves for that. And if they can get past that and digest the film and the meaning behind a lot of what was presented, I think overall the story was great, but it's unique and different. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, it really tests who you are as a person and what would you do. I think for any job, let alone being a professional athlete, it's like, what would you do? Who would you be willing to sacrifice, let alone your own self, to reach those goals? And so, I think there's a question Marlon asked him in one scene. He's like, hey, would you rather never fatigue or never be injured? And I was like, oh, that's an interesting question, right? It's like, and some of the greatest people we've ever seen in sports, like they didn't get to finish because they got injured. And so imagine we never got injured. Like, what kind of level, who do you become, and what does the sport become? And then also, I don't know if you might not know this, but Jerry Jones is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. And he's like an old school white dude. And like, there was a big thing, like there's those kids making fun of the kids going to school, the first black kids going to school down the South. And he's in one of those pictures in the background. So he got a lot of heat back in the days. And so the old guy, when he's sitting at the table in the club, and he's like, yeah, son, sign right here. And they're like, we're going to take it to the next level. That reminded me of those old owners, right? Just like, hey, we got another one of them. Come on in, boy. So, yeah, there's a lot of levels to it, a lot of stuff that we see currently going on in sports today. And it's just like, hey, what is your value? And the ending is up for you. It does end in a way that's very abrupt, but it's up to you to take it. Like, what would you do? Are you willing to sign your life away, or would you fight through and say, no, there's more to this? So that's very interesting, that dilemma that, I think a lot of players have. Like, Is it worth selling out my soul, or no? I'm gonna be me. But then where do I go with that? So
exactly.
That's it. Rob, what would you give the movie? Or are we just gonna move on?
No, we can rate it.
We'll do it after. We'll do it after the next one. We'll do it after the next one. I'll give you time to process.
Time to process. Okay, perfect.
There you go. So check it out. It is in movie theaters now. Yeah, like I said, be prepared for the gore, but it actually is a decent film. All right, here we go. Next movie up, Highest to Lowest. Highest to Low. We get to see Denzel and Spike Lee working together again. It's been a minute. Ladies and gentlemen. A couple of things for me. I forgot when you haven't seen a Spike Lee movie in a minute, and it's the last two films he didn't involve New York, and so when he does a New York film, I have to remember, he gonna be New York. So for the good or the bad of that, it's just like that energy of New York that if you've missed it, you're gonna love that. But if you're like, what the hell is all this New York stuff, bro? Just do the movie. Then you may be like, but that's vintage Spike. So I kind of like that. I got to see some vintage Spike and get to see New York again, especially gentrified New York, which that's a whole new freaking kind of energy now. But that was interesting for me. So anyway, going into this, Highest to Lowest, starring Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington plays David King, a powerful music executive whose life is turned upside down when he receives a phone call that his son Tyler, played by Aubrey Joseph, has been kidnapped. And if the king wants to see him again, you need to pay $17.5 million ransom. The stakes are heightened from there, especially when Tyler returns home unscathed, and his family learns that the kidnappers accidentally took the son of King's confidant and closest friend Paul Christopher, played by Jeffrey Wright, which was he was not utilized well in this film at all, but I'll talk about that in a minute. If King gives away $17.5 million to save his friend's son, it means giving up his dream of buying back and controlling stake in the record company and taking back ownership of the music he loves so much. If he doesn't, and in fact, even the fact that he's considering the possibility of not doing it, he is so seized to confront some difficult moral truths about the kind of man he is. Boom. There you go. So we're going to this film. Denzel, again, is an old school music head. He kind of reminds me of like a Quincy Jones. He's been in the music industry for a lot, seen a lot of things, so people respect who he is. And he's in a situation where now with his company, he wants to get out and start his own company, but he has to get some funds together. And then out of nowhere, his son gets kidnapped. Comes to find out that it's somebody that he knew in the past and kind of passed up on, but he didn't know. And so the acting in here I thought was really well done. The casting was great. A$AP Rocky plays the bad guy in the film, but I don't want to say he's actually he is the bad guy, but in terms of like he's misunderstood, and you can see the point of what he did was he was just trying to make it, right? And there's better ways to do it. I think a lot of young kids, they get caught up in the mess because they're trying to make it and they don't go about it the right way. And so they get attention the wrong way. And sometimes in this day and age, 2025, you go about it the wrong way, it might blow you up in a way that you're like, hey man, I made my money. So that's an interesting conversation that we have. Aubrey Joseph was in one of the films that was nominated for an Oscar. What was the film? I forget. I'll look it up. But
it was I know which one it was. It was The Inspection.
The kids in Florida.
The kids in Florida?
Yeah, it was about this school in Florida and Florida that.
Yeah, he was Inspection too, and that was.
Yeah, but that was the big one. Yeah, Aubrey.
I don't think so.
No, one of those. No.
He was in The Inspection for sure.
Okay, so it was one of those films. But he was nominated. So anyway, he was nominated, but he was in a film that was nominated. So anyway, it's been a while seeing Denzel and Spike Lee together on film again. So I really love their interaction of letting kind of Denzel kind of do his thing. And you don't know what kind of Denzel you're going to get. Last movie we did last year was Gladiator 2. And so you saw Denzel kind of just do his thing. I think that's his kind of energy now. Is that he's like, I'm old, man. I'm just going to say what I want to say, and good luck. And if you don't like it, go from there. Again, my only knock on the film as we dissect this was Jeffrey Wright is a legend, and I don't think he was used right at all in this film. Like, just the scenes, it was like, I don't know. It was kind of like having like flowers in the background, and you don't use you know what I'm saying? I'm like, can I get Jeffrey Wright a scene? Give him something. Let him do something. Anyway, I digress. What do you think?
Okay, so I did not again know anything about this film walking into it. I knew that A$AP Rocky was in it. I knew Denzel was in it. That's about the gist of what I knew. I didn't know Jeffrey Wright was in it, and I love Jeffrey Wright, one of my favorite actors of all time.
Everybody loves Jeffrey Wright. Everybody.
Well, shockingly, when I ask people about Jeffrey Wright, I've run into people say who, and I'm like, you are not a person who is an actor or
no, but they know Jeffrey Wright. They just don't know his name. They know. I get. So you guys have a picture. They're like, oh, I know that cat.
They should know his name, and they should know to put a name with the face. Jeffrey Wright.
Especially after the nomination last year, they should know his name.
He is such a huge talent, and he is such a powerhouse of an actor. If you don't know who Jeffrey Wright is, then download everything he's been in and watch it, because you're behind the.
You wouldn't believe he's like been 20 different people.
Yeah, exactly. I would say when I started to watch it, I was like, this is interesting. I thought, of course, I love Spike Lee cinematography. I love watching Spike Lee film. You know immediately it's a Spike Lee film. You know it's a Spike Lee joint from his style of cinematography. It's impeccable. It's beautiful. I love when he puts his signature shots into the project, which he did again in this one. So I love it. And like you mentioned earlier, I love how he made New York a character in the film. You really did feel as if you were like pulled into the city of New York. Like you were immersed in the city. You absolutely were. And I thought the same thing that you thought. I was like, this is like New York. And like you're getting.
Yeah, because it wasn't that, it was missing that, like, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I like this, but I miss it, but I'm kind of like,
It was interesting having that perspective, but I also liked that it was blackety black. I loved everything about the set design, like from the art that they had on the walls to the pieces of art that they had in the house to the books on the bookshelf. Everything was like bathed in Black artists, Black musicians. It was very, very, very Black. And I loved that they put those little details in because it was so beautifully woven into the film, even to the point where his wife, I don't want to mess her name up, Ilfinish Hadera. Do you know how to say it?
Yeah, that's good.
She's donating to a charity that's a Black charity in New York. Like, I just love that they were these upper echelon, successful, beautiful, living in a penthouse right off of the Brooklyn Bridge, Black people at the height of success. So I love seeing that, and I love the visual of that. Denzel's character, to me, I absolutely loved how he embodied the character. Did you think I was going to say something bad about Denzel?
I was waiting. I was like, ooh, blasphemy up in here. What we going to do?
I thought he crafted this character so well because he was this old school record label owner who still had his finger on the pulse of current culture with his like body language, with the language he used when he spoke. He was still very much a part of the culture of Black society and Black music in that way. He was a dick, but he was kind of an awful person.
I mean, what producer isn't? I mean,
he's kind of an awful person, but we get to see him evolve into someone who's better as the story progresses, which I thought was.
I think he gets reminded, right, by his wife, like who he is, and that's what this movie does. It reminds him, oh shoot,
he gets humbled by everyone. His wife, his son, his business partners. He gets humbled throughout this entire process, and that was an interesting journey to watch as he went on this trip of trying to figure out in life what's valuable, what's important, and how does that evolve into making money and making sense for him. So it was interesting watching that journey. Jeffrey Wright, I agree with you. Icon, Black actor, icon. I don't know if they could have made his character any bigger in this because he wasn't Denzel's character. But it was fun to watch the relationship between him and Denzel evolve as well, because it went from like employee to friend to possible enemy to this my dog and I'm a ride or die for you. So we got to see this evolution of their relationship too. There were some moments.
You needed a scene, right, to really bring them together. and that's what I felt was missing. Like, or maybe I hate to say it, did Wright just downplay the role because hey, let just Denzel take over the room and kind of like let me chill, right? Like sometimes you get these things like there's nothing for me really to work here, so I'm just gonna read it, let Denzel, it's his moment, and let me just sit back, right? I don't know.
I feel like they still gave Jeffrey Wright some big moments. Like he had the big fight with the detective where they were going back and forth.
So I'm saying anything by himself was great, right? Or other actors involved, but him and Denzel, when they were on the same scenes together, I just felt like give me more. Like if there was something, because when Denzel goes at it with A$AP Rocky in the booth, I was like, this, I gotta find out if he just ad-libbed or like was it like Training Day in there?
He talked about that in an interview with Jimmy Kimmel, and I was going to bring that up. But first, I wanted to say my favorite line, and I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. My favorite line from Jeffrey Wright was, "Oh, this is Jake from State Farm."
that was.
I said, okay, I loved it. So that was hilarious. But yes, that scene with him and A$AP Rocky, I watched his. And this is me always watching interviews. I watched his interview with Jimmy Kimmel. By the way, his name is actually not pronounced Denzel. It's Denzel.
We don't call. Listen, his
mama named him Denzel, but she changed his name to Denzel. He tells the story on Jimmy Kimmel.
We don't go Denzel
because his father's name is Denzel as well, and he said she would call them. She would say Denzel, and they would both show up. He says so. She was like, "Okay, from now on, you're Denzel and you're Denzel," and so that his name that stuck. So I thought that was a cute story. He told it on Jimmy Kimmel. I loved it. But when he talked about the A$AP Rocky scene, he did say that. It was, I think he said it was a lot of it was improv because of course he's Denzel, so he's gonna do his thing. And he pulled in that Nas quote and then they just like rode with it. So I don't know. I think it was very, very well done. And I shout out to A$AP Rocky. And I think
he held his own.
He did a phenomenal job. I will say, like, it's hard for me sometimes to see people throw rappers and singers into
more than 2 rappers in a movie. I'm not seeing it. I told you that. I'm not seeing it. More than 2. I'm not seeing it.
Okay, because there were 2. Because Ice Spice was in it too.
Again, more than 2. More than 2.
And Ice Spice was cute. It was a cute little cameo.
He had enough that you were like, okay, be careful.
You're like, we're pushing it.
All right.
But okay, and I'm also not gonna knock the casting too much because it was Kim Coleman, and I love Kim Coleman, and I'm still, hey Kim, cast me. I keep auditioning for Kim, but I haven't been cast yet. So hopefully very soon. Hi, Kim. But we have to review my movie that I'm into. We'll do that at some point. But anyway, back to this film. That scene with him and A$AP Rocky, I thought was well done. And I did not expect it to go where it went. So that to me kind of like threw me back a little bit, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's happening." Okay, cool. I thought it was going to be more of like a heartfelt moment of like figuring out something, but it went left very fast, and it worked. So I love that scene immensely.
You know what was great? So now it's 2025. How can you make dropping off money like an interesting scene? Right, because I was like, it's like you've seen it done so many different ways, and I'm like, how are you gonna do this? And they did it brilliantly. I really love on the subway and kind of, I was like, how are you gonna do this? And everybody's working together, and you just get to see the city kind of thriving. It's like during a parade and stuff.
The Puerto Rican parade.
All of New York. You see Rosie Perez for 2.2 seconds. Got to look really quick, and Anthony Ramos. So it's like, but the way they really did that heist in a way was really cool. That's like old school heist to like a new 2025 scale. So I always wonder like, oh, how would you do it nowadays? Like the old movies when you used to do a bank robbery, like how you gonna do a bank robbery in 2025 and make it like I'm gonna be intrigued. And so they did a good job with how they get the money, and then they have to track it down later. The cops in the scenes were amazing. Dean Winters, he was on Oz back in the day. He was always that guy, always hustling. So he's always got that New York, like, I hate you,
Yeah.
And so I love his energy. So he was perfect for that. And then Rick Fox, shout out to Rick Fox getting the scene. He's a little heavier than normal, though. Rick, you got to get in the gym, player. You gotta
Come on now, don't be talking about Rick.
Listen, I just want to see healthy Rick. A healthy Rick is a good Rick. Everybody wins.
He's up there. He's getting up there in age now. He looked good for his age.
Walk on the treadmill.
Rick Fox look good. And then you also had a cameo by Don Lemon. I was like, okay, Don.
Listen, the best Don right now is not working for CNN. Don is the best Don.
Living his best life.
He's like on next levels of stuff. So shout out to Don Lemon, who's just killing it all over the place, doing the right things. Actually, someone who cares. Yes, thank you, Don.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think anybody else that really shined. Wendell Pierce, old school. He's been in everything. That brother, he's a scene with Denzel in the room about executives coming in, kind of doing that. That was an integral part. Even that scene was kind of good. You know, he's going to come in, say a couple things in and out. So the casting, I thought, was very well done. A couple of heavy hitters in there, and then some new faces in there. It kind of gave it a nice balance. And the film doesn't lag, which is nice. Again, the only thing I could say is if you're not a New Yorker, if you're from Boston, you might be offended by one or two scenes. But in terms of it is heavy New York. So that's the only knock. If you're not a fan of New York, that might kind of like, you might not have the patience for that, because that's Spike. That's vintage Spike. Like everything, you know, the Dolly Trail thing, and also just New York in your face. And that's why we love New York. He's going to give you all that. So if you don't have the patience for that, you may not like that, because that's that lull in the movie, is just showing you New York. But that's what he used to do. And that's what's made, you know, New York iconic. And so again, that's the only knock I would have on that, is just like having that pace on that. You have something else to add?
Yeah, there was only one moment that to me I was pulled out of it a little bit. And I'm sorry, I don't even want to say anything negative, because it's Spike Lee, and like I dream of the day I get to work with Spike Lee. But the moment where they find out that he's kidnapped, to me was the only moment in the film where I was like, what's happening right now? Because it just felt like they
didn't really develop like why because A$AP Rocky's character is, you don't even know, like, yeah, they should have done.
No, it was just that, like, the performances were like, he comes off the balcony, he tells the wife, they don't have a moment to like take it in and like and understand the gravity of what's happening, and then they just start playing this loud opera music. So I was just it kind of took me out.
They had a moment to take it in. I just think the way they went about it, he drops him off at school, and then he's on the deck, and then he gets a call, right? And at least show the kid getting snatched, and you didn't have to show who it got snatched, right? Just show a kid getting snatched, and then I think if they would have switched to boom, now he's on the deck. It just goes, drop him off, and then we're gonna deal with work stuff, and then it just missing that one little piece so that it has a no.
Yeah, something in that little moment right there, and then the music was just playing really loud, and we were trying to feel like we're like, oh wait, we just found out we can't hear what they're saying because the music's playing so loud, and they just found out the kid got kidnapped. It was just, that moment to me was a little muddy, and I was trying to, it pulled me out a little bit. It was just that tiny moment that I was like, I wish we would have gotten like a closer experience with Denzel and his wife, taking the fact that their son, like the gravity of their son being kidnapped. And I felt like that was the only moment that I felt like got taken away from us just a little bit. It just moved too fast, and the music was like blaring. So I was like, what is happening? That was the only issue I had. Everything else I loved. Chef's kiss.
And now I remember Aubrey Joseph. Sorry, I interviewed him for this movie he did called Bosco. And
Bosco,
young kid, who broke out of a maximum security prison. And so I interviewed him. He's actually a really cool kid. So it's nice to see him kind of, grow. And man, hey, he went from doing that independent film to now working with Denzel.
Working with.
I mean, what do I know? Listen, you interview with me, then you get bigger things going for. That's all I'm gonna say. You go, tell me I'm wrong. I don't know. Anyway,
I love it.
So check it out. It's on Apple TV right now. Like I said, if you miss New York, you want the New York energy, and you get to see Denzel work again, it's a good vibe. And also Jeffrey Wright does his thing. So everybody does a really good job. I think, again, the casting was done well. The visual effects, the visuals of just the New York scenes, like when they're doing the heist and running through New York, just you feel that. And so it's always nice to be reminded of the good and bad parts of New York.
Yes, absolutely. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will say that I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I stayed up very late into the wee hours of the morning to watch this film because I wanted to make sure I got it in. And
why don't you watch it when it came out?
I was so sick. I just been like so sick.
That's the best time to just put it on in the background. Sometimes I watch movies like 4 or 5 times because you're waiting for it to go on and kind of do that.
I will have to watch him one more time, even though
I was waiting. I got to do it again because I know there's stuff I missed, but I actually stayed awake for it this time. So shout out to me. That's been a big thing, just trying to stay up for films. And now I can't go for previews. I have to literally go late. I go 15 minutes late to a movie now. That's the only way I can
get in there and the movie's starting.
Yeah, I literally am like, oh, movie's about to start. Perfect.
Well, see, my problem is I always want a glass of champagne or a margarita.
Yeah, you bring that in your pocket, bro.
No, they sell out the movies.
Tuesdays, I go to CVS around the corner. I get a tall boy high noon. One of those big. I get a tall boy high noon, and I put it in my jacket because it's cold because of the AC. And I'm in the theater, and
they gonna start patting you down, bro.
Are you touching me, okay? Huh? Black man can't have a jacket on. You know what I'm saying?
It's like, no, we saw you saying you bringing high noons in here.
They ain't seen. Listen. My Latin folks ain't watching this. Anyway, shout out to Donna for saying hello. She says she likes ASAP and the highest to lowest as well. He did a really good job.
Phenomenal job
getting this thing together. Anyway, check it out. Like I said, both really good movies. Black folks doing great things.
Oh, can we show that? We can show it now.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh wow, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's interesting. Hey, got new stuff every day. Again, we're not here next week, but we'll have some new stuff coming out. There's some. Well, we're gonna do a rewind like we did a little bit in the end of last year. Not all black films, so we're gonna just do films and kind of mix it up, and try to do a show in here as well. So if you guys have any shows you want to check out, we're gonna eventually do. I heard Rob's film. So when does that do?
We can do that film whenever you like. It's called TKO. It was the #1 film on Tubi for a while.
Tubi film.
Yeah, but it's actually very, very well done. It's by Footage Films, which is Chris Stokes and Marcus Houston's film company.
Okay.
Starring me, Marcus Houston, Robert Ricard. It's I'm trying to think of who else is in the film. I have to look it up. But I have a very small scene.
What's it about?
Mighty scene. It's a boxing film.
Okay.
Again, it's Robert Ricard, Marcus Houston, Clifton Powell, Jackie Long, myself, Benzino's in it. My friend Michael Franklin's in it. It's cinematically done very well. I will say that Footage Films has been putting out like some really quality films. They are on Tubi, but I think people should not underestimate the quality of the products that they're putting out. I know they just had a film release in theaters as well called Run, and that one was starring Annie Alonso and Claudia Jordan. So they've had quite a run with some good films. So yeah, we'll cover TKO at some point.
All right. And then Black Rabbit just came out on Netflix with Jason Bateman and Jude Law.
Oh yeah.
Let me know if you want to do that. But that's a series. I think it's like an eight episodes.
Got it.
That might be too much.
There's some good series out right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out right now. So we'll find something for everybody. Kind of see what kind of works best.
And then another film. It's kind of late to do it, but The Roses was really, really good.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, and season 2 of our favorite show. What was that?
Oh, Beauty and Black. I actually
Bro, my girl's like, yo, Beauty and Black is season 2. I'm like, really? And she put it on. I was like, yo, they're crazy.
It got better though. I have to say it got better. So if you want to do Beauty and Black, we can do Beauty and Black when you come back from Ireland, because I've already caught up on the last 6 is it 6 or 8? Yeah. On the last whatever episodes.
What's she called the Asian guy?
Huh? Oh, Japa nigga.
That is literally blowing up. I'm like, wait, what? I was like, did she just say
It's a lot. I was like, are we really doing this? The twists and turns.
The best is when you read the comments. They're like, take this man's pen out of his hand, please. Like, he doesn't care. They're just like, he doesn't care. He's saying whatever. I love the show. Honestly, it draws you in. You're like, no, it's like a soap opera.
We can't stop
train
watching.
wreck slash amazing. Like, what is going on? Like,
Okay, so we have to do Beauty in Black then.
Okay, all right, we're gonna do season 2. That's what we're gonna do. All right, so I got a week to catch up and kind of we'll review all the episodes the following week.
One by one.
Oh my god, because I just can't. You can't make this up.
You can't. All right, so are we rating these films or what?
Yeah. So what would you give him?
I'm gonna give him a solid 8 out of 10. Again, I thought the acting was impeccable. They cast that film so well. The acting was so well done. The cinematography.
What's missing, buddy? 8 out of 10 was missing.
Yeah. The cinematography.
Visuals, you said it was good. So what are we missing?
I'll get to it. The cinematography was perfection. I thought visually it was stunning. It was at first watch, it can be a little bit confusing because they are trying to marry so many concepts and so many ideas, but they do a really, really good job at marrying everything. But it's just so much to digest that it's a little bit difficult. And I think a lot of viewers, it might be a little bit complex for the average viewer. And again, it took me sitting down and watching interviews with Justin Tipping to be like, oh, okay, now I get where he's tying in the history of war and football, and now I see where he's tying in the history of worship fandom culture and idols and sports. So it took me a little while to understand and put the pieces together, but now as I've understood the direction the film was trying to take, it makes sense. So that's the only thing. It is very, very complex.
Yeah, Jim Jeffries' character says, at the end, he's like, it's the Coliseum, only one man leaves. And I was like, ooh, okay, all right. Mm-hmm. So you see that later in the end. So interesting. Okay. I'm gonna give it 7.5. Like I said, I think I know the film has a deeper message, but I think that is, if you really want to get everybody involved, seeing that real life interaction, I think that really is what changes everything. Because again, we're kind of society, or at least in America, when football comes on, it's like, oh man, we got to see at least one play, and then we can now it makes sense. And so for you saying hey, it can be confusing, that I think that's the point, right? It's missing that scene to kind of put everybody to do that, but some things make you think about what is going on in life and how to approach it and stuff. So anyway, this is a movie that's definitely going to make you think, and you definitely have to watch it again. So you might want to wait. It comes on DVD or comes on. Do we do DVDs anymore?
No, go support it. Go support it.
Go support it. You're gonna buy it. Buy it at home. The point is, buy it at home so you can watch it again, and watch it again, and watch it again. So because there's some stuff you're gonna miss, or watch it later.
I want them to support Tyreek Withers. I think like I said before, I think his performance was impeccable. I think this is gonna be that performance.
Marlon, anybody nominated in this film? Impeccable acting.
I think Marlon and Tyreek should be nominated. Really? I think their performances were extremely grounded, extremely well crafted, and I think they really did a great job at bringing those characters to life. And I think this is going to be that performance for Tyreek Withers that cements him in Hollywood as a name, because we've seen him do other things before, but now he's going to become a household name for Hollywood. And I think that's great for him. I think we're only going to see his career take a trajectory up in a very big way.
You heard it here first. We said it first.
He's extremely good looking. He's extremely talented. I think he's going to do nothing with.
Rob said it.
I did. And then Marlon, I do believe that this was Marlon's time to shine in a dramatic role in a way he never has. And this was that performance. I think he took the reins of that opportunity and he blew it through the ceiling. So I think both of them deserve.
Is Marlon the best Wayans actor?
I mean,
ooh.
I mean, I don't want to even.
You don't have to answer, but I'm just saying.
I'm not pitting any family members against any family members. I love all of them.
That might be okay. I didn't say comedy now. I didn't say comedic. I just said acting.
But I think this was that role that is going to make people look at him differently for other opportunities outside of comedy. So kudos to them for their performances.
And highest to lowest, sir?
Highest to lowest, I'm going to give a solid 8 as well.
Okay. All right.
Yep. again, there were a couple of scenes to me that like kind of pulled me out for a second, but it's Spike Lee, so it's Spike Lee. Like I love Spike Lee. Spike Lee can do no wrong. Denzel's performance was again chef's kiss. I loved seeing him embody this media mogul who still had his pulse on the finger of like culture in a way that kept him like youthful in his approach to life. But we saw him go from like this dark character to this character who was brought into the idea of lightness through all of the experience he was affected by through his best friend, his son, his wife, and his business partners. His growth from beginning to end was very clear. And I thought he did a phenomenal job. And like you said, Jeffrey Wright can do no wrong. So top to bottom, Spike Lee, Denzel Washington, Jeffrey Wright, can't go wrong. It was just that little moment that pulled me out. And I was just like, And again, like the other thing is I love rappers in movies. I think A$AP Rocky owned this role. But I'm not a rapper, so I wouldn't want somebody to hire me to do a rap album. But I think I don't want the world to go back to this where it's like, okay, let's just hire all the big name rappers and singers to do all of the roles.
Well, you gotta earn the role at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, I just don't want that to happen again. We went through that era and it was so frustrating. So, but I love the film. I love the casting. A$AP Rocky that's not to take anything away from A$AP Rocky or to take anything away from
Ice Spice.
Ice Spice, because they both did a phenomenal job. I'm just nervous that this is gonna be like, oh, we can start doing that again. Like, please no.
All right. I'm gonna give it a 7.5. Again, like I said, Spike does his thing. Sometimes it's too much New York. I just think the misuse of Jeffrey Wright is just blasphemy. Seriously, blasphemy. This man's in a film. The battle would have been him and Denzel going at it. Like, my son, like, you're not going to do this. It was like, you're not going to do this, man. I need you to do this for me. It was like him pleading instead of like, no, you owe me. Like, I want to be like, you own, it was like, just missing that umph. Because I don't know if he had to take a seat back or not, but that just kind of messed me up. And then there was another scene I meant to mention earlier. It's him and his son. It reminded me of Fences. He's like, I'm going to tell you, I love you. He's like, and there was that same scene. His son's like, I'll snap the life out of you. You ever talk to me that again? And I like that Denzel had that moment. Hey, I'm kidding. Listen,
yeah, I'm the only man in this house.
That's what I'm saying. So it was like, okay. And I love that Denzel was always there to remind you nowadays. Like, hey, hold up.
He's like, hold on now.
Stick with me. I'll check you little young ass.
So, I will say what I'm excited about, and I have not checked it out yet, is the soundtrack for this movie, because I have a feeling the soundtrack.
No, the soundtrack was great. Yeah. The music. Oh, that's what I missed to say. The music was great.
The music was impeccable. The music was great.
It's been a long time since you had a good soundtrack for a movie.
Yeah, so I'm excited to like take a good listen to the soundtrack tonight.
Yeah. All right, that's it. That's our show today. Wow, right back in it, brother. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. And then, see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm Ro Carter, co-host Rob Smith. See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.